At this time, I call to order the November 3rd, 2020 meeting of the Danville City Council. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Ricky Williams Jr.
Present.
Alderman Robert Williams.
Present.
Aaron Troya.
Present.
Sherry Pickering.
Here.
Michael Kane.
Here.
Bob Iverson.
Here.
Rick Streeting.
Here.
Mike Poor.
Present.
Steve Foster.
Present.
Sharon McMahon.
Here.
Brenda Brown.
Present.
RJ Davis.
Here.
Dan Duncan.
Here.
James Bouchard.
Present.
Tom Stone.
Here.
14 present.
14 present. We do have a quorum. At this time, we will have the invocation led by Alderman Brown, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by me. Alderman Brown.
Okay, let's bow our heads. Our Father who art in heaven, we thank you for another wonderful day. We thank you for all those that are present. We thank you that we're able to even come together, even on Zoom calls, so we can conduct the business of the city of Danville. We ask that you continue to bless our city. We ask that you bless those with COVID-19 virus, Lord, that they will soon be healed, set free, and delivered from this horrible virus that is here, and we don't seem to know how to get rid of it, but we ask that you bless those that have recovered. We ask that you bless those that have lost those through the COVID-19. We ask that you bless those that have desired to be a part of this meeting, but for some reason, maybe they could not. Bless our families, continue to bless the staff and all administrators that keep our city abreast of all this going on. We thank you for all blessings, and we ask this now in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. All right, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Guys, I'm telling you, we're going to get that before this pandemic is over. Pretty good job, everyone. Thank you. At this time, we have before you the minutes of the October 20th, 2020 meeting. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Been moved by Alderman Stone. Is there a second? Been seconded by Alderman McMahon. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. You have before you the agenda for this evening. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Alderman Duncan.
Been moved by Alderman Pickering, seconded by Alderman Duncan. Any discussion or debate? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Seeing none, I do not have any proclamations for you this evening, nor are there any board, committee, or personnel appointments. However, I hope to have several for you on the 17th. Are there any reports of boards, agencies, or commissions? Any reports of boards, agencies, or commissions? Well, seeing none, items of information, I just want to tell you all that we had some good news. Pastor Miller has had a breakthrough and is starting to recover in the hospital. So we're really very thankful for that. We're very thankful for all of those who are recovering from COVID. And we just continue to pray, as Alderman Brown eloquently said earlier, for everyone who's struggling with this disease right now. It's really tough for them. So we just continue to keep everyone in our thoughts and prayers. I would just ask everyone, when you're in public, to make sure that you take safety precautions. Please wear your mask. Please social distance and use hand sanitizer, especially when you're indoors. So also just want to say that, as many of you know, tonight is an election that has importance not only for the United States, but also for the world. And it's not just the president. We look to that a lot of times, but elections at every level will affect the United States and the world. So I just pray that clarity, I pray for peace, and I want to say to the people of Danville that I thank you for always demonstrating peacefully and letting your voice be heard, but in a productive way, because when that happens, folks respect it a lot more. So I just want to say that I pray for peace in our land, and particularly for peace in Danville and for Levy County as we enter election evening and the weeks as things unfold. At this time, Madam Clerk, we will receive the petitions, communications, and audience comments. The way that we will do this is we will allow those who are present in council chambers to speak first. Then I will read written comments that we have received. And then after that, we will have the presentation from Mr. Bob Reitz with Lauterbach and Amended to give us our police and fire tax levy valuations.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I have Mark Janeski, 1307 North Walnut of Danville, regarding sanitation.
Mr. Janeski, if you could please come to the podium and give your comments, sir. Just as a reminder, we do ask that you keep them to 3 minutes, and you're welcome to take your mask down for this as well, sir.
Cannot hear him.
Mr. Janeski, please go ahead, sir.
I thank you for letting me come by tonight. I kind of wanted to just stop by and talk very briefly about the sanitation. I'm from Schlarman Academy, and I'm just going to let you know, at Schlarman Academy alone, this, if all of the utilities raise their rates by this much, 200%, we'd be out of business. We'd be done, as would every business in the city of Danville. They cannot afford this. 200% increase is just drastic, and it's going to kill a lot of businesses in our town. Mine alone is going to go from $130 a month to about $400 a month, not counting fees and extras that are added. I beg of you at this point in time to think about this. Your planning has to be a little better than this in the future. And if you're needing this money for the particular purpose of repairing some of your storm sewers and your sewers, I understand. But when that particular repair is done, the rates need to be reverted back to where they were. We cannot continue to do this to our business. We are a strapping business in this town to a point where they cannot exist. It is that simple.
Mr. Janeski, I thank you for your comments. I would offer a few remarks in regards to what you've stated. First of all, this is not a one-year plan. I hate to tell you this, but generations prior to my time on earth did not do what they needed to do to make sure that our infrastructure was in good shape, nor have we ever collected the amount of money needed to ensure that that happens. I understand that this is a terrible burden for people, and I hate to do it, but I promised you all that I would always do the best. I would never ask you more until I first done the best that we possibly could with what we already have, and we have done that. This would put us on a sustainable path to repair our sewer and stormwater infrastructure. Without that, the businesses can't exist in Danville. We have people all over the city that have flooded neighborhoods anytime it rains. We have people that have sewer coming back up into their homes anytime that it rains. We have businesses that have these same issues. We have businesses that have capacity issues. We have a business that was told by the sanitary district that they could not add bathrooms to their existing business because the sewer was already at capacity. So I hate to ask for more, but unfortunately, we are left with no recourse.
I also would like very briefly just to answer you quickly. It's my understanding the city owns 80% of the sanitary sewer lines within the Danville Sanitary Department, benefits from it. My question is, why are we not charging a fee to the sanitary district for use and benefit of those sewer lines? It's my understanding the sanitary district has money and their budget's in the black yearly. If necessary, those particular pieces can be FOIA'd. I think you need to consider some of those things before you make this decision.
Mr. Janeski, what I would tell you is that the city of Danville, outside of two major trunk lines, which are the Lick Creek Interceptor and the Stony Creek Interceptor, the city of Danville now owns all of the lines. We previously owned 90% of them. We recently accepted the other 10% from the Danville Sanitary District. So what we do is we collect all the sewer, and convey it to the Danville Sanitary District. The Danville Sanitary District's only responsibility then is to treat it before it goes back into the water so that it does not poison our water system. So the setup is not quite like you may have been led to understand. We do in fact own all of the sewers except for those two major trunk lines.
Well, I'm still going to beg of you to think twice about 200% increase.
Yes, sir, I understand that. And I do thank you for coming to speak to us this evening.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, sir. At this time, I will read to you the other comments that we have received. Just so you'll know, we have received a host of calls, some in favor, a number opposed to this as well. I think nearly everyone understands that it's an absolute necessity that we do something, but of course, everyone is concerned about the price. This comment was received in person at the city clerk's office on 11/3/20, so that's today, from Mr. Jim King of 1318 Sherman in Danville, regarding the rate increase for sewer and sanitary storm sewers. Go from $1 to $5 flat increase, and if you have to go back and increase a year later, do so. A big increase now is bad for the city economy and what people do and buy in Danville. From Jody Markin. I am a 63-year-old woman on Social Security disability, working 1 day a week and trying to stay in my home as long as I can. While I understand the city's need to fix our sewers, I have a basement and know all too well the problem we homeowners have with keeping them dry. I don't understand why you feel the need to have such a large increase thrown at us. With this COVID-19 having hit back in March, some of us have not worked much this year at all. We are struggling all the more than normal. Please, why can't there be a smaller increase over several years? Just my opinion. Thank you, from Jody Markin. Gardner Peck, who is the Executive Vice President of Danville Metal Stamping, headquartered at 20 Oakwood Avenue here in Danville. My name is Gardner Peck and I work at Danville Metal Stamping. We received a letter about the sewer rates on October 19th, and I am attending the meeting hosted by Sam Cole and Mayor Williams on October 28th. The information provided was informative but concerning. Even with the slightly reduced fees, what Danville Metal pays will increase 213%. That will take what we pay for sewers from $45 per day to $141 per day before any testing or treatment costs. There is never a good time to increase fees like this, but there are especially bad times. I understand that this will not go into effect until April of 2021, but that is only 5 months from now. Our company employs over 425 people in our 2 Danville facilities, and we are, in the best of times, in a very competitive global industry. Such a dramatic increases in our costs will hamper our abilities to compete and sustain and grow our businesses. Currently, Danville Metal's industry has been very negatively impacted by COVID-19. Experts believe that it will take years to recover to where our industry was 8 months ago, before the pandemic. I understand that there are needs that have to be covered to support the infrastructure, but an increase of this size and at this time are unreasonable. I urge the city to reconsider, and I would encourage every alderman to vote against this. Thank you for listening to my comment. Ryan Scholl, 1627 North Vermillion Street here in Danville. There are many things in Danville and Vermillion County I like, but the one thing I don't like is the high cost of living, high property tax, gas tax, retail tax, and now we will be paying a higher sewer fee. What exactly are these fees going to? According to the presentation of the mayor's words, they are going to fix the system. I wouldn't mind a fee increase at all, but how's that really going to show on the residents' end of the system? I was advised a few years ago when I bought my home on Vermillion Street that the sewer line all the way to the tap is my responsibility. My home sits on 2 alleyways, a north and south alleyway, and directly where the sewer line runs, it goes across the north-south alleyway into the east-west alleyway. From the back of my property line to the manhole tap is roughly 60 feet. How should I, as a homeowner, be responsible for utilities that stretch way beyond my property line? What if something happens to where I have to fix it? I don't realize it, and all my sewer products leak out under the ground, causing a sinkhole. A vehicle drives over a person walking down the alleyway, falls into a sinkhole on the city of Danville's property. It's not my property, so I guarantee it won't be an issue. I replaced the sewer line from the back of my home to the property line with new PVC pipe, but I will not touch what isn't on my property. That's opening me up for a lawsuit. The mayor recently posted on Facebook about them fixing a sinkhole around Danville because a lady had fell into it. I would hope before any changes in fees, you would address the ordinance on property owners' responsibility up to the sewer tap. The Public Works Department this year had removed a tree in the alley easement right on the property line because it was dead and a danger to the public. If they can take down a tree, why can't they fix the sewer line under the city's property? Again, I ask this issue be addressed prior to ruling on the sewer fee increase. Respectfully, Brian Scholl. The last is a letter from Nikita Dixon, who lives on Seminary Street here in Danville. I have not made too many towns my home, but I moved here back in 2018 and I have no regrets. However, in the short period of time, I've had to deal with the sewage bill rising up on me 4 different times now. When I first moved here in 2018, my bill was only around $45. The hikes have been as follows. February of 2018, it went to $50.25. April of the same year, it got hiked to $64.75. And in May of 2019, it went up another quarter, bringing it to $65. And then again in May 2020, you went up another quarter, bringing it to a final bill of $65.25. That doesn't include the late fee I pay due to juggling bills as a single parent working a full-time job and trying to maintain an education for my daughter since I was trying to keep her in private school. The shut-off fee for the water due to delinquent payment on the sewage bill went from $85 to $250 in January 2019. So that lets me know I'm not only the only one struggling with this bill if you had to make such measures in order to get people to pay it. Moving forward, since the pandemic, I'm blessed to be able to work from home, but now the electric bill is going up, the water bill is rising, etc. I'm sure the bills are going up for many other people around here as well. The cost of food is going up, and I pay cash for that as I do not get food stamps. Again, I am almost positive I'm not the only one dealing with this particular issue either. People are struggling out here and even have to bury loved ones on a regular basis. We can all agree that it isn't cheap either. I just want to make sure that that in the middle of a pandemic that is causing so much frustration and hardship, this sewage hike is coming at the most inopportune time and quite honestly shouldn't be taking place at all. Our wages are not going up, but our bills are. The wealthy may be able to afford it, but that doesn't even make up half of Danville. What about us regular citizens taking life one day at a time? Sincerely, a concerned citizen, Nikita Dixon. Madam Clerk, did you receive any other audience comments?
No, sir, we not.
Okay. All right, at this time, I would like to welcome to the meeting, Mr. Bob Reeds from Lauterbach and Omen. Mr. Reeds, it's your show, sir.
All right, good evening, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. I do have a presentation prepared. I'm going to try to share my screen here. I don't think it was part of your deck, your board packet. Can you see this presentation?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So we're talking about the police and fire pension funds, and we're going to look at our current year recommended contributions and how it compared to the prior year. Fire plan, $4.8 million, increase from $4.5 million, about a $290,000 increase over the year. Similarly for police, $4 million increase to $4.5 million. So net, it's about an $815,000 increase, or about just under 10%. We'll go through the reasons why that increase was so substantial in a few moments. Taking a look at some other metrics of the fund, your fire pension funds funded at about 17.5%. Police pension funds funded about 28%. So total, you're about 23% with $116 million of unfunded liability out there. So when we're talking about these recommended contributions, we're really paying down that unfunded liability. And what we have in place right now is amortizing them out over a 21-year period, which is in line with the 2040 timeline that the state statute dictates to be 90% funded. Our recommended contribution here is to try to fund towards 100%. So it's a little bit more aggressive than the statutory minimums. Going forward, looking where your head counts are at, you have 45 active firefighters and 79 members who are currently receiving benefits from the fire fund, 64 active police officers, 85 members receiving benefits for the fund. So right now you're currently paying out about $7.7 million a year in benefit payments. And then this is just a metric to look and see where is that going to go in the next 5 to 10 years. In 10 years, you're looking at paying out about $11.3 million in benefits, about almost a 50% increase. So this is when we're talking about making those contributions. It's really vital that those contributions are coming in, because you do have some members that are getting close to retirement age. and will start drawing their pension within the next 5 to 10 years. So we want to keep an eye on those numbers. Jumping back here a few pages, we talk about why did the contribution go up so much, okay? So normally we expect some increases, and that's a basis of the way that we do amortize the unfunded liability. We amortize the unfunded liability on a level percent of pay basis, which is slightly different than what you would normally amortize liability like a house mortgage or a car payment or something, which is a level dollar flat amount for every year until the obligation is paid off. And under a level percent of pay, it's an increasing payment schedule. So each year we would expect that payment to go up by your salary wage increase assumption of 3.25%. So that's where we expect the $147,000 increase in the contribution for fire, expect $129,000 increase in contribution for police. Other items, demographic and financial items that happen during the year that create actuarial gains and losses. Part of those being salary increases a little bit greater than or less than expected. So on fire, salary increases were actually less than what we would have anticipated. So you had some savings there. Police salaries were a little bit higher than what we would have expected. So net total contribution up $12,000. Other demographic changes that occur during the year. These would be items as terminations, retirements, members that pass away, surviving spouses, new hires, all those demographic changes, the plans occur each year. We're seeing an increase of $34,000 for fire and $79,000 for police. The next two items, I'm going to go through a little bit more detail. So assumption changes. Each and every year, we at LNA, not every year, about every 4 or 5 years, we at LNA, we work with about 360 of the police and fire pension funds across the state. And what we do is we aggregate all the census data we have for all those funds to come up with an experience study so we can determine the proper incidence of retirement rates or disability rates or salary scales or all those demographic assumptions that go into how members can attribute or receive benefits out of these plans. So what some of the things we took a look at this year and updated were the inflation rate. We lowered our CPI assumption down to 2.25%. Individual pay increases. So this is outside of any step program, what the long-term rate of pay would be assumed for each police and fire fund.
Mr. Reeds, I apologize for interrupting. This is Mayor Williams. Is there any way that you could maximize this in your screen? It's a little bit hard for me to see from back there. That's why I've moved up to where you can't.
Okay, is that better?
Oh, much better. Thank you so much.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, there. So individual pay increases, we actually lowered that assumption. So by 25 basis points. So what our study showed was in general, salaries are coming in less than what we were anticipating 4 or 5 years ago. So we actually lowered that assumption. So that would actually produce some gains for the funds. The retirement rates, termination, disability rates are all pretty much in line with what our expectations were previously, had very few gains or losses there. And the most dramatic change for as far as assumptions go is the mortality tables. Previously, we used the 2014 RP tables, which were the most widely available by the Society of Actuaries back in 2016. However, many governments, municipalities, and public pension funds kind of scoffed at the use of those tables because they were based on private sector data and Social Security data, which don't necessarily coincide completely to public sector or government and municipalities. So the Society of Actuaries went back and created a new study gathering 40 million life years of experience from public pension funds across the country, similar to IMRF or CalPERS or Texas Teachers. So with all that in place, we now have specific mortality tables for public safety, which would include police and fire. So now we think we have a most apples to apples comparison to use for mortality assumptions going forward. And also as a part of those tables, they have what's called improvement rates. Each year they gather another year of data, they modify the tables a little bit more. And so, the general premise being it's expected that people are going to be living longer with advances to healthcare and people living healthier lives and so forth. So we do make mortality improvements and adjust that annually as well. So as a result of those assumption changes, let me see if I can get this page back. Going a little slow, sorry. As a result of those assumption changes, increased your contribution by $43,000 for fire, $129,000 for police. And then the last item here, which was what we call plan changes. And what this relates to is the new consolidation bill that was signed in last December. And part of that consolidation bill, I'm sure everybody's aware of what's going on there. Part of that bill provided for enhanced benefits for current Tier 2 members. So what they allowed was, formerly the averaging pay that was used to determine your benefits was an 8-year final average pay. The consolidation bill changed that to a 4-year final average pay. So now the average increase or average wages to be used in determination of benefits will likely be higher for Tier 2 members. In addition, there was a cap on pay for Tier 2 members that grew each year at the lesser of 1/2 of the CPI rate, or 3%, whichever was less. The consolidation bill also took away that 1/2 provision. So now that salary cap is going to grow a little bit faster at either the full CPI rate or full 3%. So both of those items is now increasing the benefits that's going to be payable to Tier 2 members, and correspondingly having an increase in cost to the funds. So for fire, about a $37,000 increase, and for police, about a $116,000 increase in your costs going forward. Next item being asset returns less than expected. We are measuring this plan as of May 1st for the contribution year ended 4/30/21. So as everybody knows, May 1st was probably one of the worst times to actually measure your market value of assets, right in the middle of the pandemic hitting and the shutdowns occurring and stuff like that. So really we saw a lot of actuarial losses due to investments for that period of time. The assets were pretty much flat, if not slightly negative during that time, that return. So we do have an increase in costs going forward there to make up for those deferred asset losses that are outstanding. And also finally, the contributions that came in were slightly less than last year's amount. You contribute about 95 or 96% historically of the recommended contribution. So to the extent that there's a little bit lag there, it does have an impact to your future funding as well. So I just threw a lot of information out at you. Do I have any questions or would like any more detail on any of those items?
Council, this will be sent to you as well, so that you have a copy of the presentation for review and for record as well. All right, well, thank you, Mr. Reeks. Anyone? Nope. Appreciate you taking the time to explain that to us and to walk us through where we are at with our pension contributions.
You're welcome.
Have a great evening, sir.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you. Is there another audience comment? No. All right, thank you. There are no zoning petitions this evening. However, you do have before you the payrolls of October 23rd and 30th of 2020. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved, Brown.
Second, Streaming.
Been moved by Alderman Brown, seconded by Vice Chairman Streaming. Any discussion or debate? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Streaming,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Foster,
Chairman Foster, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
McMahon,
Vice Chairman, you're muted, Vice Chairman McMahon.
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Bouchard,
Yes.
Stone,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Troya,
Yep.
Pickering,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Alderman O'Kane?
Yes.
Thank you.
Iverson,
Yes.
14 yes.
14 yes, the motion carries. You also have before you this evening the approval of the vouchers payable for October 27th, November 3rd, 2020. Is there a motion to approve those?
Pickering, so moved.
Moved by Alderman Pickering, seconded by Alderman Stone. Any discussion or debate? Roll call vote, please.
Chairman Ford,
Yes.
Chairman Foster,
Yes.
Alderman McMahon,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Bouchard,
Yes.
Stone,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Troya,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Streaming,
Yes.
14 yes.
14 yes, so the motion carries. Item 11 is the Public Works Committee report, Chairman Ford, and as part of item A, Chairman, I do believe the engineer has some updates for us to review.
Okay. And just for the record, this did not go to Public Works. It was discussed at the Public Services meeting where several of the Public Works Committee members were present. There was also 2 public meetings. First one, there wasn't too many people other than staff, but I'm not sure how many were at the second meeting the next day, but
We had 10, Chairman.
10, okay. So having said that, 11A is an ordinance amending chapter 51 of the city code of the ordinance pertaining to storm and sanitary sewers. Move to dispense reading and ask for your approval.
Alderman Streaming will second.
It's been moved and seconded. Engineer Cole, did you want to walk everyone through the updates?
Sure. So just some of the updates, I'm sure many of you fielded calls as well. We did, and we have responded and discussed the proposed, one of the challenges with the sewer system and the proposed ordinance changes, specifically the fees with myself. I'm guessing around 15 different people, something like that I spoke with over the last few weeks. Essentially, there are miscellaneous updates throughout, but they tend to be more administrative updates. The bulk of the changes are obviously related to the fee structure. I guess I'll highlight the differences between what you have before you now and kind of what was discussed in the presentation. Based on the feedback we received, there was a lot of, commentary and concern, especially during the challenge with COVID right now, on what the impact would be especially to small businesses with a fee increase of the magnitude that we had proposed. Originally, any commercial and basically non-residential property would have been at a minimum of $59.50 a month. That has been reduced to $42.50 a month. And that's been done by including a little bit less like water usage or sewer usage basically in the base rate. So those customers that fall below that will benefit from that, and they will have a lower maximum or a lower minimum charge there. That's really the biggest key. The single family residential rate is still proposed at $29.75 per month. The multi-unit residential rate would go to $17 per unit per month. As I said, commercial, institutional, industrial, whatever, it would be a minimum of $42.50 a month. And any usage over 1,000 cubic feet or 7,480 gallons would be charged an additional fee of $5.68 per 1,000 gallons. And then every year to cover basically the cost of inflation. I know there was not a lot of, nobody really enjoyed the 5% inflation number that I had suggested was, and just, with whatever reasoning behind it, that was not a well-liked. So what we proposed is a $1 increase every year. So on a single family residential rate. So should this pass in it would go into effect April of next year. The following year, it would go up $1. So for that following year, the charge would be $30.75. And then the other rates would be basically increased proportionally to that because the single family rate is kind of the driver of the way the ordinance is written as far as calculating the cost per 1,000 gallons. So that's over a 4-year period, that's going to average right around 3% per year. But $1 per year is what that's going to go up. We have added some provisions just regarding cancellation of sewer service if a building's demoed and when that might happen. We've provided some opportunity for exemption for irrigation systems or watering of crops or whatever, provided it's outside of a building and it's separately metered. And we've also provided a opportunity for very small businesses that maybe went into an old single family residential house or something like that to basically contact us and request a rate reduction to the residential rate, they would have to meet certain criteria in order to be eligible for that. Because remember, this is the storm and sanitary sewer fund, so we have to factor in how much runoff is this entity generating as well. And for that reason, they need to be comparable to a single family home in order to get that rate. So I think that's really the highlights. Were there any specific questions about that? Or Ricky, did you have something, Mayor?
Sam, the question of the du jour that we've received from everyone is, why in the world did you lower it for businesses but not for residents?
Yeah.
Can you explain the fact that about how the rate is actually the same for everyone and the volume amount change that we made in our assumption?
Yeah, so the rate is basically $5.68 per 1,000 gallons for every entity. The difference would be how much volume is included in the base charge. So for a single family home, we are including 5,236 gallons, which is 700 cubic feet. The reason we picked that number is because that's often how water usage data is reported, and it makes the billing process a little easier. And then there was an adjustment. We did a minor adjustment to the business rate. Like I said, it was originally going to be 10,000 gallons. We reduced that to 700 cubic feet, or almost 7,500 gallons. So they're still paying the same rate for that 7,500 gallons assumption. It's just how much we're including there in that before they get charged an extra amount. So if you use 10,000 gallons as you did before, you're basically going to pay the same rate as everybody else. Just the minimum charge has gone down, basically. So.
Thanks, Sam. Any
Mayor,
questions, comments? Yes, Chairman.
just a couple of questions. This is all based on the 2006 water usage rates. Is that correct?
The proposal, no, is not. It strikes all of that out and takes residences will be flat. There'd be no their actual water usage won't be factored in because it's not doesn't change really the cost of the city providing sewer service to those.
As the mayor had said before, he's in a house that used to have about 8 people in it, and he's the only one in there now.
Yes.
I'm in a house that had 5, and now it's 2.
Yeah. They would be the same.
A flat rate regardless if there's 1 or 10.
That's correct.
It won't matter how much water you use?
Not on a residential side, no. If you're in a house or in a apartment unit, it will be a flat fee. If you are a commercial business, the commercial, industrial, and other non-residential accounts, we will get water usage data, and they will be billed based on the previous month's water usage.
Okay.
So
I guess
Chairman, just
yes.
to clarify what you were asking, right now our bills are all based on whatever was happening in 2006, as you said. That's why everyone pays a different rate. So what we've done is we've taken an average, and then that way every residential customer, in terms of individual households, are paying the same rate. All apartments are paying their own same rate, so that there's no variation. Everyone is essentially paying the same rate, so that we're all paying our fair share.
So there will be a significant increase to some people, and a decrease to some others based on what their water usage was in 2006.
That's correct.
I mean, I know mine's going to go up about $12 a month. I'm at the $72.25 mark on the total bill, which people, think the bill we get from Sanitary District is just sanitary, but that's actually the Sanitary District charge, the public safety pension fee, the city sanitary charge, and then of course the garbage fee. So there's actually 4 different charges on that one bill, and we're only adjusting the charge for the city portion of sanitary sewer.
That's correct, Chairman.
yeah.
Okay, and then we're expecting, and I know the tax levy has to be voted on and certified by December. The budget doesn't have to be approved till April. We're looking at about a $4 million increase in the sanitary sewer, or the sewer fund per se, which is what this fee will support. Is that correct?
This will actually be, because of the revisions, based on the feedback, there is a slight revenue decrease of about 4.5% to 5% in that. So, I mean, rather than 4 million, that would be getting cut back to probably 3.5 to 3.6 million.
No, but I mean,
So
we would have to make that up somehow in order for the budget as proposed, or well, without the newest police and fire pension information, but in order to propose or to support the budget as proposed.
That's correct. And I mean, we probably would not, I don't know that there's space in there. It's a matter of, do you push this farther down the road, or do we do this and address the, kind of the ongoing need in the sanitary sewer system?
Right.
So,
And I guess my question is, is there time to postpone this for another month? Does this have to be voted on with the tax levy? Does the budget have to be voted on with the tax levy? And could this wait another month so it could go through the committees for more discussion and possibly for more public input? That's just comments I've been hearing.
right.
Probably 9 out of 10 people I've talked to are asking that question.
Chairman, what I would say to you is that we have to submit a preliminary budget when we submit our tax levy. So we should submit a budget that is reasonably what we expect to pass. Also, we do have general fund money going. We do have money coming from the other budgets to help offset property taxes to keep those from going up. So if we are not going to approve this budget with these increases, we would need to reassess, because then we would be looking at a property tax increase. And I personally don't think that that's a good move for us as a community.
Mayor, I kind of calculated what it would cost, and maybe Ashland could verify it. I know it used to be about every 1 penny was about $35,000. So you'd need almost $1 increase in the property tax levy to offset this proposed fee.
Yes, and I don't think there's any way. I would never feel good asking the public for that. No.
And one other question. A lot of comment is, why is the public safety pension fee on our sanitary sewer bill? And that's basically just so we make sure everyone is paying that fee. Is that correct?
Well, it's also on that bill. It's also listed on that bill, Chairman, just so that we aren't spending, if we have $14,000, 14,000 bills that go out every month, if we send a separate bill that is a sanitary, just for the public safety pension fee, stamps are what, 50 cents a piece now? That'd be another $7,000 a month in postage that we would have to pay. So $84,000 a year of the taxpayer money that we would be wasting. So that's
Right.
yet another reason why it's all listed on the one bill versus having them separated out.
Right.
So
And that's why I
we're-
wanted to make sure we let the public know that there's more than one. It's not that one bill that is going up $29.75. It's one of the 4 on that bill that's going to be a $29.75 flat fee.
That's right, Chairman. As you well stated earlier, listen. This is logical, right? You get a bill from the sanitary district, and everyone assumes that's their sewer bill. But in this case, it's a false assumption. 2 components of that make up your sanitary bill and your sewer bill, and the others are different funds. So at the very top of each bill, you'll see a portion that currently adds up to about $775. That's from the Danville Sanitary District. That's for the treatment of the wastewater once we get it there, so that when it goes back into our waterways, et cetera, that it's not polluting the water and harming wildlife nor us as people. Then the next thing you see is your city sewer portion. That's for us taking the waste away from your home and getting it to the sanitary district to be treated. Those 2 things together are actually what make up your sewer bill. However, after that, as you said, Chairman, we have the garbage bill that's listed on this, as well as the public safety pension fee. So there are actually 4 components that are on the bill that you receive from Danville Sanitary District. I also wanted to talk to you about public comment. You mentioned that, why can't we have longer for public comment? I would say we have offered more opportunities for public comment than probably any one issue we ever have in the 10 years that I've served on the council. With having the opportunity at committee again this evening, and then also the 2 separate meetings that we had. That's 4 meetings when usually we have at best 2 meetings to discuss any one issue.
Well, and I understand completely. And we have to go back to the day when we used to receive the red postcard, the green postcard, the blue postcard, and the garbage fee was just included in the general fund. So, I mean, it's more convenient, I believe, to have just the one bill showing everything. With that, I mean, anybody else has anything to say?
Thanks, Chairman. Vice Chairman, I saw that you had your, McMahon, I saw that you had your hand up earlier. Do you wish to be acknowledged still? No. Vice Chairman McMahon?
I was muted, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just, I've thought a lot about this. And I mean, I know that we need to do something, but the headline in Saturday's paper was, on one side, governor to shut businesses down again. And then on the other side, we got this sewer problem that we're going to raise the sewer bills. You know that for Danville Metal, that's $25,000 a year for them, their increase. They went from $77 a day to $147 a day. That's $25,000 increase for them for a year. And he was absolutely right. Gardner was when he said that it's going to be a long time before these businesses get back to normal, where they can actually function. And this is just not a good time to be doing this. It really puts us in a quandary because it's something that needs to be done, but these people are suffering out there. There's still a lot of people on unemployment. I never thought I'd say this, but I even feel sorry for the landlords because these people aren't having to pay the rent now. So I don't, sorry, but I mean, I don't even know how they're doing yet because, we're putting extra on them. And like I said, people aren't having to pay rent. So they're not having an easy time with it either. And it's going to be a rough decision. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. I just don't know if I can support it at this time, and Sam, nothing against you. I mean, your proposal is spot on. I mean, I know we need it, but how bad do we need it when people are really struggling? There's a lot of people really struggling out there.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Alderman Stone.
Yeah. Mayor, don't we currently provide for the storm sewers out of the sales tax? Isn't it like 0.25% or 0.5%?
We do. This budget that we propose to you would remove that, and it would be going to the general fund this year, and likely the council would need to determine where in future years. I would recommend. We've talked a lot about 107, possibly with either infrastructure or to streets, because we have other infrastructure or streets because we have a lot of ground to make up there too. But that money going into that technically should have never happened legally, statutorily, because the enterprise fund in state law is supposed to be self-sustaining, and ours is not currently.
Well, how much is that actually?
It's like $370,000.
Well, could we reinstate that money to the sewer fund and for a year or two to soften this? Is that a possibility here? I mean, we could spread it among all of our users.
We could, but then you have a deficit budget. That's been included this year to help us make up the lost revenue for hotel, motel tax, liquor tax, other things that are down due to COVID. So we would have to find that $370,000 somewhere else, which I don't think there is anywhere at this time. It would just have to go into a deficit. And Alderman Sung, did you have any further questions?
Oh, that concludes me.
Okay, Alderman, if you could please use the button to raise your hands, the blue button to raise your hand, because I might, if I'm looking at one person, I might not catch you, but if it's that blue button is listed, then I'll know that I see you. Alderman Brown.
I would just kind of repeat of what I said last week and what some have said tonight, with COVID being as it is and having to go back and close restaurants for inside dining and bars at this time. Not only to mention that, but the businesses that are going to hurt, even though I heard of a decrease Sam gave, but that's not going to help a lot for the businesses. Unemployment was mentioned. Talking with the person the other day, their unemployment's going to be a week late because of some problems that they've had with computers. That person is going to have to miss paying her rent because she depended on that, because she's drawing unemployment right now, and many others. Talking with some young people that are getting assistance with rent from different places right now. Heard of another church opening to feed people because of the need to feed the people in this community. And, you know, I even hear on the other side, well, everybody doesn't need food, they're just taking advantage, but that's not true. There are a lot of families that are hungry. I mean, there are a lot of people that are here that in this community that are hungry. There's sometimes, you know, and now there's an older gentleman that said he was able to get with his pension, he was able to qualify to get what food stamps or whatever they call it now, whatever it is, I'm not sure. But anyway, he gets $75 a month to help him. Of course, you know, you go to the grocery store, $75 is not a lot of money for 1 month to feed yourself. And he's by himself. He doesn't even have a family. He's an older gentleman. So, you know, I've just listened to different people and all their situations are different. And it still comes out that right now is a difficult time. And I know we said, well, if we keep waiting and putting it off another year, we're still kicking the can down the road, and we may as well do it now. And I still tend to disagree with that. I can't help but think if we go another year and let us kind of look at this, feed on this, digest it, and in a year, hopefully COVID will be better, because it's a problem. The COVID has caused a lot of the problem. Otherwise, I say, yeah, because like I've expressed, I've had water to get in my basement for years. Certainly, I want the sewers changed. They've fussed and argued about this for years, and nothing has happened. I can't see what 1 more year is going to make that much difference. Maybe it will, but I can't see where it's going to make that much difference if we wait another year and really get into this and listen to the concerns of the people in this community. The poverty level in this community is high. I don't know if all of you are aware of this. Maybe because I'm comfortable and maybe our neighbors are comfortable, we think everyone's comfortable, but that's not so. Spoke to someone the other day. They're living without heat right now because they can't pay their Ameren bill. But they say, well, Ameren, I told them, well, they can't turn it off if you say, well, they've had problems in the past since COVID because they lost their job and they have children. So it just, problems are mounting on top of problems. And that's why I asked if we could do this next year at this time and work this in our budget. Is it such an emergency that we have to put it now and put it in our budget now? Can we wait another year? I know some of us talk about sewage getting in our basements, water getting in our basements, and yes, that's a great concern for people. But we've lived with it all these years. 1 more year, I can't see where it's going to hurt us, and I think it would give the council time to even to look at this, and hopefully this deal with COVID, maybe we can see light at the end of the tunnel, maybe by this time next year, and hopefully sooner than that. And we can continue with this, because certainly I think, Sam, what you planned, we need it, and you're right on top of things. But right now, I'm for it, but not at this time. I think we can do better, and I don't mean any harm when I say this. I actually think it's a pretty selfish move with COVID, the way it has been, with people not in work, businesses having to not be able to make their revenue like they would like to, and just for the sake of us to get our budget right. So that's the way I think about it. And if we vote on this tonight, I will not be supporting it because I've listened to too many concerns of the people in this city, and I'm sorry, I just can't support it if this goes through tonight.
Alderman Brown, I guess I would just take pause with you to say that this is selfish in any way. The only reason that we're doing this is because of the outcry of the people. Every day we get calls from people, even when it's not raining, with the issues of things backed up in their house. We have flood. We have things from, it'll be a weeks or months later, and we still have pools of water where people's yards and homes are flooded months after it's rained. So no, it's not. This isn't to fix our budget. The truth is, we could do without it. The easy thing to do is say, you know what, I'm not going to present this to everyone. It's a hard time. Let's just do it later. I understand your concern, but to say that it's selfish, no, ma'am, that's anything but that. Because our budget will be fine without it, quite frankly. Sure.
Mayor, I understand your concern with people, but like I said, I have the same concern with the water, and I use the word selfish because I think that if we don't consider for waiting for another year and without thinking that it's kicking the can down the road, we want to get it solved, but I think it's just a bad time.
I understand.
And I know you get flooded with calls, people, because of sewage. It's happened for people for a long time. Like I told you, I'm one.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't like it, but I think right now we'd do the people more justice if we would wait a year and see where we're at, especially because of this COVID and people right now that are on unemployment, people that are in poverty or poverty stricken. It's just the time is bad. And excuse me, I don't mean any harm when I say selfish. I guess I use that word for the lack of a better one, and I don't mean any harm to you, Mayor, yes, or to you, Sam. Yes, but again, I can't support it right now. I just think we could wait a year.
Thank you. My concern becomes that how many decades have they said this? They've said next year and in a few years since before I was alive, and that's put us in the predicament that we're in right now. That's put our neighborhoods and our citizens in the position that they are now because we say, oh, we'll get to that later. There's never been a good time. Right before I was born, you had the Iran-Contra deal, just after I was born. Before that, you had the oil embargo from the Middle East, right? So that wasn't a good time in 1977 to do it. Then you had the Iran-Contra deal and all that, and the drug issues in the early 80s. Then you had the great economic downturn after President Reagan left. Then we had some issues. We had a small recession during the Bush years. Then President Clinton came along and we had a economic boom because of the .coms and all of the internet and such. But then 2008, we nearly lost everything and had a great recession. So I guess what I'm saying is every 5 to 10 years, there's something that comes up that is terrible. But the problem is we have 10 pump stations that will fail within the next 5 years. Every time that we wait, we go from, it costs $50 to line something and to get us by, and it gives us more time. It costs 5 times that for us to replace it when we plan to replace it. It costs us 10 times that or 20 times that, $1,000 to replace it when it's an emergency fail, if it's under grass or something. And then if we let it be under a street or somebody's house, $2,000 a square foot. So I understand it's horrible. I would never ask for this, but the time is never right. Yes, there are some times that are worse than others, but I don't know. I got calls all the time when I was an alderman. I get even more calls because it's the entire city now as the mayor. But your point is very well taken, Alderman Brown. I completely understand what you're saying. I feel you, I hear you, and I understand fully what you're saying.
But Mayor,
Alderman
only
Trolley.
thing I'm not asking for another 5 years. I'm asking for 1 year. And I think that would help all of the aldermen with some of the, probably what we're hearing is to hurry. Now, some of us are probably ready to say, yes, let's get it over with. We want new sewers and let's get started. But I'm just asking for 1 year. I'm not asking for another 5 years. Right
Yes,
now,
ma'am.
this whole United States is in a bad way right now. And if we can maintain Danville, that's what I'm interested in. And right now, I don't think we're maintaining very well if we ask for this increase with the sewer situation right now from our citizens of Danville. I'm just, again, like I said, I plead this. Again, no disrespect to you, Mayor or Sam or any of the other people in the planning, Miss Ashland. I'm not asking for 5 years, just 1 year, so we can chew on this a little more and digest it and I see where we're at as the community, and hopefully, like I said, things will be better. And if it's not, we can move forth. Things have to get better. It can't get a lot worse, but that's all I have to say. I'll shut up.
Yes, ma'am. The thing that worries me too, and then I'll get to Alderman Trolia, Chairman Foster, and back to Chairman Poor. The thing that worries me too is when will you have 14 people who are courageous enough to do what's right? No matter how hard it seems and how upset people are about it, half of you could be gone next time. Will the other 7 people say in a year, you know what, we're gonna do this? Or are people gonna say, you know, Mayor, we're just now starting to recover from COVID. You know, we need to give it more time. And if we don't have more courageous people to stand with you next year, then we'll be right back in the same place, except it's only gonna cost us more to fix everything.
I don't believe that. I think, Mayor, that I believe right now, if we do that, I think a year, I think all of us would be ready. And, you know, we don't even know if all of us will be here next year. You know, we don't have any time on that. But I still can't see for 1 more year. And I think we'll all be on board. And so we all may not vote yes, we all may not vote no, whatever. We'll still have different votes, but I believe it will give us a little time. Maybe time isn't on our side. I just still say this. I know we can find these things and say, well, this could happen next year. Yes, and I understand that. But certainly 1 more year, hopefully we can maybe see some light at the end of the tunnel with COVID. There, you know, hopefully there may be some type of vaccine that'll help and maybe people start. But right now it's getting worse instead of better. We don't know how it's going to hit Danville even, but certainly think in a year's time that there would be improvement.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm still, that's still my plea, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am. Understood. Alderman Trolia.
Yes, I mean, I agree with you too, Alderman Brown. And Alderman Mann, one of the businesses actually goes up 444,000 next year on one of the industrial counts, the bigger ones.
That's the prison, right?
Well, it just says highest account. It goes from
Yes.
2,700
That's the
to
prison.
52,000 a month.
Which is the prison?
Okay, well, it just says highest account. I'm not for sure which one it is.
Okay.
But it is, correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, is it like Fibertech, I think goes up like 300,000.
No, they're not one of the highest users.
Who's the highest then? Besides the prison? I didn't realize that was the prison.
Yeah, the prison's the highest. I believe Quaker is a significant one. REG is a significant user.
How much would their bill go up?
Danville Metal is significant. Bungie, you know, several of those entities out there. So, and actually, even the public safety building is one of the higher ones on the commercial side. So,
like a Fibertech or Quaker, say Quaker, like, I mean, are they looking at like an REG, like a $300,000 increase for 1 year?
I don't know if it's quite that much, but that's still a big number. Yes, it's significant. So it's in the hundreds of thousands for a couple of them. Yes. So
that's several jobs, really. Okay.
Right, but that's gonna. I don't dispute that. I think we have to face this at some point, and whether you say it's several jobs, if you compare it to jobs, it's always going to be that. Right, the sewer is always going to cost what sewer costs. And if you say several jobs this year, that's the same as several jobs next year. If that's the argument, right? I mean, the timing is a whole nother thing. But I can't change the costs of providing sewer. That's more a consequence of our community size and just having this many sewers than it is, anything else. And I don't think the reality of that is ever going to change. So.
And that's what I agree with Alderman Brown. I mean, just one more year and we know what's going on with COVID. I fielded probably 20 calls / emails. I did have one person for it and 19 approximately against it. I mean, the general public is pretty much as close as you're going to get to 100% against this. It's so big. It's 85% increase to residential, tripling commercial, and 3.5 times on industrial. I mean, bars and restaurants got shut down yesterday, and we're voting to triple their bill tonight. I realize it doesn't go into effect until April, but last time it was supposed to be a month, and then it went into 3 or 4 months. I mean, I with Alderman Brown, it needs to go at least one more year on this. This is also, I feel like this is completely getting jammed through. It never went to Public Works. It should, at bare minimum, be going to Public Works we voted on. And this is, it was $4 million, now $3.5 million tax increase. And it doesn't even go to the Public Works Committee. It's just presented at the Public Service Committee. And I agree with Alderman Brown. This has been going on for 80 to 100 years. I can't believe that just next year it's all collapsing. Just amend the budget. I'll go back to what we were paying for. We were putting in the program for the last 80 to 100 years. I don't think we need it. It was actually more than double the budget. Now it's doubling the budget in 1 year. There is never a perfect time, but all those circumstances that the mayor represented said earlier, they never were shutting businesses down. This is literally the worst time possible for this gigantic increase.
Alderman Trolley, do you have anything else? I see everyone's hands. Chairman Foster.
Yeah, let me see if somehow or other we can just wrap this up by saying this. About half my calls were, go ahead with it, we know it has to be done. The other half were for the same reason that the first caller said, go ahead with it. One thing they don't like about it is because we're in the middle of this epidemic or whatever the hell you want to call it, it's really such a bad time. And that's the primary argument. Now, there's 3 things we can do tonight. We can vote it down, we can vote it up, or we can do something else. I'm going to tell you what the something else is and you see what you want to do. We can go ahead and wrap this up by doing what nobody wants to do, vote it in. But it doesn't start in April. It'll start the first month in November. That's 1 year. Everybody wants a year. That gives us a year hiatus to see if we can turn the city around, get the restaurants open, get people well or sick or whatever's going to happen down the road. So it won't start for a year, but at least we took the action to know we're going to do it. And this will help us budget it. We'll know exactly what we're standing for because we'll know what we're going to get and when we're going to get it. So I would suggest you just amend it, vote it through, and it's effective. The first payment will be November. There's your year. Everybody wants the year. And your committee can have all the meetings they want. If you want to amend it, you got 12 months to amend it with. Just bring it back to the council. All I'm just trying to do is give you a quick solution. Vote for it. Vote it down. Vote it up. And there's a good chance the best thing we could do is to vote for it and then just extend the start date. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Chairman Foster. Alderman Brown, you were the one who first mentioned that we needed some more time. You didn't want to say forever, but you would say a year. Before I move on, I see I have Chairman Poore next, then Alderman O'Kane, then Vice Mayor Iverson, then Alderman Streebing, and Alderman Pickering. I haven't forgotten anybody. I've got you guys all on my radar. So, but before I move on, Alderman Brown, what is your thought on Chairman Foster's proposal?
I could work with that. That gives us, because like I said, a year. I think I think that's fine. If we could amend this to say instead of April, if we could take this a year to November, I could work with that.
Okay. Yes, Alderman, Chairman Poor and then Alderman O'Kane.
Thank you, Mayor. I just having trouble with, I'm looking at our financial policy that was adopted in 2012. And it says that enterprise funds, of course, should all be self-supported and they will be reviewed each year. Our, on page 29 of the charges and billing procedures, 5135, that dollar increase kind of contradicts what we say in our revenue policy. That was passed in 2012 and subsequently hadn't been reviewed since. Is there a way we can take that out and we review this each year as to what we really need, or does that automatic $1 increase every year have to be in there?
Chairman Poor, the way it's stated in there is that it'll be $1 a year for 4 years. I do believe the engineer capped it so that it would not be in perpetuity, because I know that was a concern that a number of you had too.
Yeah,
But it does also, in line with our policy, Chairman, require us to reassess it every year.
So even though that language is in there, we can still change that.
You can still change it every year or at any time, should we so wish to.
Can I speak to that? This is Sam Cole. You know, I think the intent is that we believe that number is in line with something that is adequate. It still needs to be visited every year. And if that's found to be inadequate, not enough or too much, then you can make changes every year. If it's in line and it's fine, the council would not have to take action on an ordinance in that year. But should you want to change it, you would have to take additional action to amend the ordinance.
Right. And what I'm saying is, so that really doesn't need to be in there if we're going to revisit it every year.
It doesn't necessarily hurt that it is in there, but you still need to revisit it every year. And I do want to highlight, that's really what this is, right? This whole thing is a proposal on a way to get there. This is me as the city engineer fulfilling the obligations of the financial policy and showing a path forward. And it's up to the aldermen to decide if that, I can't take action on that.
Right, Sam, you've done a great job, and I really appreciate all you've done on this and all the work you've put in on coming up with a plan.
Yeah.
But what our situation is was not only our sanitary, but also our storm sewers. And but I'm just saying, some of the comments I've heard or the complaints I've heard are that, well, why is there an automatic increase in it if you're going to revisit it every year? So that was just my reason for asking that question.
Thank you, Chairman. Did you have any other questions before I move on?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderman O'Kane and then Vice Mayor Iverson.
Just got a short comment. We got the change last Friday, never went to committees where we could actively see this proposal in front of us. I haven't heard enough from the business community to tell us their full thoughts. It's all automatically all yes or no, and mainly no from what little I'm hearing. But I think we need to give these businesses a chance to look at it, from last Friday to today with the election and everything else going on. We just haven't given people enough time. I'd like to just push it off and come back and vote on it December 1st and run it through committees and give businesses a chance to tell us what they think. Tell us what kind of jobs we're going to lose in their factories and stuff, and in some of the retail stores. I think we need to really look at this. I think it's just going too fast.
And a motion to table it, Mike?
I don't know it'd be tabled. It'd be more like a
postponement. You don't table it.
Be postponed where we have committee discussion, give a chance for the community to come back to us now that they're hearing what's really happening to them, and then we have some active discussion in the committees.
I'd be willing to second your motion.
I agree that it has to be done. It needs to be done, and this may be what we end up with. But I think the businesses who are supplying the jobs that is going to pay the people are going to use to pay their taxes, need to have some input in there. And over the weekend or whatever was not enough time.
They have, and Vermilion Vantage put out a survey of it. 30-some people responded. The vast majority of them said that they were not in favor of it. I think it was about 80 to 20%, 80 against, 20% in favor of it. And everyone, near all but one respondent acknowledged the need, that there was a need for addressing this issue. But for many of them, their concern was the timing. And that's why I really like Chairman Foster and Alderman Brown's idea that we have to vote on it, but put a date on it, that it would start in November, a year. Well, it would start in October, which is a year from now to be due in November. I think that would be a reasonable plan forward. But I mean, I think no matter what you're going to hear is the same. Either people that understand that we need it, but they say it's too much, or you're going to have people that say no, no way, no matter what we have, I think. Alderman O'Kane, did you have anything further?
Not at the moment.
Okay, Vice Mayor Iverson, and then Alderman Streebing, Pickering, and Dungeon. And then I'll come back to you, Vice Chairman McMahon. Yes, Vice Mayor.
And a lot of people I know, when they hear the rate per so many gallons, et cetera, it's very confusing to most people. I think there's a class in engineering school that they teach you how to make it confusing. Because if you look at it, you said there's a flat rate, but yet there isn't if you use more than a certain amount of water. Then you pay more. So it's not just a flat rate and that's all you pay, period. If you use too much water, you pay more, which is okay. I understand that. Now, from what they've been proposing tonight, at least would give us a while to think about it. But if we pass it tonight, starting in November, sure, we could come back and look at it in a year, but we won't. Once it's in there, we're going to leave it alone and go with it. That's kind of why what Alderman O'Kane and Dungeon have said about let's not look, let's not pass it for another month yet. And I know when you say let's not, if we don't do it, we're going to fall backwards, etc. But instead of going for 4 million, why can't we find like 1 million this year? We're not saying let's not do anything. Let's increase it, but not by $4 million. Let's increase it by a reasonable amount of money. And I think that's what Alderman O'Kane and Dungeon are trying to say. We're not saying don't do it. We're just saying we need to look at it thoroughly. And I understand Sam spent a lot of time on this. Sam and I have emailed a lot in the last couple of weeks. But it just seems like too much all at once, although everybody knows we're going to have to do it somewhere. Somewhere along the way, we're going to have to bite the bullet and do a lot of this because the sewers need work. But we also need a chance to look at it some more. So I'm in favor of what has been said so far about let's waiting until December to get more input and see what we can do.
A couple of things to answer that. Number one, we have a certain number of pump stations that will go bad in the next 5 years. So as Sam kind of forecasts for you, every time that we wait, it gets inordinately more expensive. So for next year, with $1 million, we could do 2 pump stations, maybe, depending upon which ones they were.
But so maybe that's all we need is to do a couple now and get the rest later. I mean, I know there's a 5-year plan. I appreciate what Sam's done, but it just wonders if we couldn't slide that back a little. I'm not for kicking the can down the road. I'm just making it a smaller can, maybe.
Right. Well, the other thing is our ordinance does require a 5-year plan, which the engineer is working to implement with this. The other 2 things that we have to consider is legally, we are required to put both our levy and our budget on display for the public for a certain amount of time before we vote on it. So if we wait until December to vote on this, we are not going to meet we will not meet the levy deadline, I don't believe, which would put us in violation not only of our own ordinance, but of the state statute as well. Comptroller, I just noticed that you had your hand up. Are you wishing to respond to?
I'm not wishing to weigh in. I just wanted to provide some information to help you guys make your decision. The first one is the levy and budget timeline. You're correct. Yes, we only have to have the levy approved in December. The county clerk's deadline for having our levy filed with them is the second Tuesday of December. With the amended budget and levy schedule you received today, we are approving the levy at the very last moment as is, without any indications on our budget. The budget doesn't have to be approved till April 30th, just before the beginning of the fiscal year. But the reason that is difficult is because of the money that is currently going into the sewer fund, that general fund home rule distribution tax that's transferred. So if we're not sure what we're going to be doing with that, it makes it very, very difficult for me to have a levy for the general fund. So I just wanted to mention that. The other thing is I wanted to go back to the financial policy that Chairman Poore mentioned. I wanted to read a couple of the things in the revenue policies from the financial policy. So on page 2 of the financial policy, number 2 under revenue policies, says, in the past, the administration's policy has been to base revenues on prior year actual for budgeting purposes. The policy shall be to estimate annual revenues on an objective, reasonable, and conservative basis. Most revenues shall be estimated based on a historical trend analysis. Major revenues shall receive more in-depth analysis. Number 4, enterprise funds such as sewer and solid waste shall be self-supporting. Number 5, all charges for services, fees, licenses, permits, etc. shall be reviewed annually to ensure the rates are maintained at a level that is related to the cost of providing the services and are competitive with others providing similar services in the area. Number 6, sewer and solid waste service charges shall be reviewed annually and set at levels adequate to meet expenditures for the next 2 years, less any excess fund balance. Those are the ones I just wanted to highlight. And I guess the question is that we feel that some of these have been followed, but then we feel that others have not. So I guess which things from our ordinance do you want us to follow now, and which ones do you want us to not follow from the financial policy that's in our ordinance, just with making these decisions moving forward. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Comptroller. Alderman Streaming.
Can't hear you.
Alderman, can you try to speak again? We couldn't hear you for a moment. We can't hear you.
He's under Ashland. He's under Ashland.
How about now?
Oh, yes, sir. Now we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to weigh in right now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Alderman Pickering.
I'm going to take a little different perspective on this. I have been one of the people that have had sewer damage in our lower level. It's something no one should ever go through. Believe me, we had raw sewage in our basement. And I know everyone knows we need to do this. I don't have to talk to any of you about that. I know that. But the longer we wait for this, there are going to be more people that are going to have the same situation I had. I talked to different people. Of course, we all know that we're going to hear from the people that are negative. That's just always how it's been. You always hear from them people more than you do the ones that are for it. That's just always the way it is. But anyway, what I want to say is, I think if we look back, they've been trying to do this now, for 25 years, they brought this up. What I understand, they've been bringing this up to our city council. And yes, they have kicked it down the road. So do we want to be known as the council that has kicked it down the road? Do we want to be known as that administration that did this? I think we really need to get this done. I know there's people out there that can't afford it. I know there's people out there that just don't want to raise it. But I know there's a lot of people out there that will have sewer problems in the future. And the sooner we get started on this, the less people that's going to have that problem. My husband worked in the sewer department, and believe me, when we seen Cleveland Street, the manhole on Cleveland Street surging, he knew he was going to get a call out to the north side of Danville because they'd have sewer backups. So this is a problem, and we need to deal with it now, because the longer we wait, the more people are going to be affected, and the more people. I had one lady that told me she spent $20,000 because of her water getting in her yard from the storm. From the storms we have, and our stormwater just, sewers wouldn't take the water. I had another lady that said she had put, I think it was like close to $20,000 in her basement. She'd remodeled it. It wiped her whole basement out. So we have to think of our constituents also. There's people out there that want this fixed, and I think we need to fix it.
Thank you, Alderman Strebe. Vice Chairman McMahon. Alderman McMahon, you have your hand up. Do you wish to speak?
I do have my hand up. Here's the one other thing that I wanted to bring up is that, we're not meeting in person now. And I don't think that gives the public the opportunity to come down and speak to us like they ordinarily would. So, something that's important, I think that they should have that opportunity to talk to us, because I don't think we're getting all of the input that I think we would. If we were meeting in person, they'd probably be packing the chambers. So that's kind of like all I wanted to say. I would be for postponing this. Yeah, I don't think we've had enough input. I don't think we're ready.
Alderman, thank you, Alderman McMahon. Alderman Pickering, did you have anything else you wish to say?
Yes, there was a comment about the companies not being able to come in and talk. But Sam, didn't we have meetings with them? Didn't we write them letters? And so they have had plenty of notice to contact us. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we sent letters out approximately, I don't remember if it was 3 weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, something like that, to the largest users, anybody that uses an average of 10,000 gallons or more per month, recognizing they'd be the financially, dollars, maybe not percentage wise, but the most impacted. I have heard from several of them. I think many of them are Vermilion Advantage members, the larger entities, and have kind of vocalized their opinions through that forum, at least. And so we have heard from them, but that's been ongoing. I think there's still some stragglers that you get into the bigger corporations, and it does take them time to respond and get it to the right party. I think I got a call from somebody at Quaker today that it had filtered down to the right person. But this is just my opinion, but I guess I'm all for hearing people, and I think we've responded to everybody that contacts us, and we'll talk openly with them. That won't necessarily change the numbers and the facts, and I don't, it won't change what I put on paper and present to you all, but I do respect that we want to hear from them. So.
Yes, thank you. Alderman Pickering, anything else?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Alderman Dungeon?
There's just a lot of questions that have not been addressed, at least as far as I know, or not to the level that I think they should be addressed. $3.5 million a year raising the money. I haven't been told what the cost of the job is. Are we gonna have to do $3.5 million a year for 3 years, 5 years, 20 years? Are there provisions? And I don't expect an answer right now, but those are just a lot of questions. The sales tax, that I thought part of the sales tax, that when we passed it, I suggested making it a higher number than what we did eventually make it. Some of that was going to this storm sewer. Now that's going to be taken away. We're going to be working on some streets. Can't we do something with the motor vehicle fund or the motor fuel tax? I mean, I'm sure you guys have got the same email from a local businessman recommending we put out a bond. And I'm not saying that we should, but I don't think any of these have been properly looked at. I think I understand Sam saying the numbers aren't going to go away. It's going to cost this much, but how we fund it, there's a lot of different ways to do it. It's not necessarily this way. But it might be this way. But again, my questions haven't been answered. I don't think we've put enough research in. I don't think we've considered the answers enough. I think waiting till passing something and saying we'll start next November, that's kicking it down the road. And honestly, I think if we vote tonight, it's going to be voted down. And I would love to have our sewers fixed. I remember moving back to Danville in 1983 after graduating from college and running around the country for a couple of years, sitting with my father at the old Knights of Columbus, and everybody complaining about Mayor Jones not fixing the sewers. So the problem's been around. We have to fix it. But there's still too many questions that need to be answered. I strongly recommend, I really believe if we vote tonight, it's going to be turned down. I strongly recommend putting it back through committee, voting on this in 30 days, and getting a real consensus and finding a little, either proving that the way we're going to raise the money is correct, or finding some other alternatives to perhaps fund some of this.
Alderman Dungeon, respectfully, I would say we offered nearly one-on-one presentations with each of the aldermen. We had a committee meeting. Your committee meeting met to discuss this issue last week. We have talked about the different options of bonding and things like that. So I apologize, but I'm not sure that I see how those things haven't been answered.
Well, the phone calls I've gotten, the public doesn't think they've been answered. And bottom line, that's proof of what I just said.
I disagree, but your point is understood. Chairman Foster. Chairman Foster, you need to unmute yourself, sir.
It's the background noise. I'm trying to keep myself muted when I'm not talking. I'm sorry, but I just want to say that I understand everybody's approach, and we have had a lot, not only in at previous meetings, face-to-face with phone calls, and also I met with the mayor, Mike and I did, and all the engineers. We've had a number of meetings. I feel like that if you postpone it, that's kind of not kicking the can as far as one of you suggested I would before. But if you postpone it, you're just going to see the businesses that are in Vermilion Advantage, you're going to hear more of them. There'll be more pressure than ever. And my thinking is this may be our one chance to at least vote it in so that we know what we're going to be doing. We have a date certain when we start collecting, and that will address to a great degree. The major concern I heard from people was not the sewer. No one disagreed it should not be done. It was the hardships on some people and the businesses that were closed and may not be open. I suggest we give it a year, as I said before, and then it can start. But this way, we won't violate our own terms like the controller said, because you can work it out when you know what we voted on and when it's going to start. You can do the math on it. So I tell you what, do what you want to do right now. I'm going to make a motion that we vote for the approval of the plan, and that the first payment will be due the 1st of November. And so that no longer will be delayed. We have to step up and start, is what I think. I'm just going to make the motion. If we get a second, fine. If not,
I'll second that motion, Chairman Poor.
It's been moved by Chairman Foster and seconded by Chairman Poor that we would begin, that the only part of what's proposed would be changed, that instead of this being effective April 1st of 2021, it would be effective of November 1st, 2021. Is that correct?
Yes.
Chairman Is that your motion?
Yes, and I think it'll go a long way to help everybody.
Yes, Chairman, I think so. It's been seconded by Chairman Poor. Is there any discussion on that?
Mayor, just a question. Would it not be October so that we would start collecting in November?
That's correct, Chairman Poor. Chairman Foster, you said to be collectible in November, so it would be effective October 1st, 2021. Yes, thanks, Chairman Poor, for that clarification. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Any discussion on the amendment? What I would say to you is, I think absolutely the only thing that you're going to hear is no, 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 because people never want to. I do not want to pay more. I absolutely don't wish to pay more right now. Anybody who ever says that they wish to pay more is probably not being honest with you, okay? But I do know that people will pay more and they will make a sacrifice if they know it's for the right cause. And as Alderman Pickering said, and Alderman Brown has said, they have dealt with this themselves in their own homes over and over again. And we have a constant outcry almost daily from people in the sewer department about this. So I think that this would be an amazing compromise. It would be us saying, yes, we hear you. We hear the public that we're not going to start doing this right away, but we are going to address it. We're not going to kick the can down the road. We are going to make sure that we do something about it. I really liked the idea that Chairman Foster had, and that Alderman Brown supported, and also Chairman Poor. I think that it would be a great compromise. It would show the people that we are listening to them, that we're thinking of them, not only for the immediate time, but for the long term. We're going to give a reprieve during the immediate time, because now is a hard time for everyone. But guess what? Help is on the way. Starting October of next year, we're going to start funding this properly so that you can stop calling your alderman, so that you can stop calling the city, so that you can know that you're going to have some hope to have your problems addressed. I think a year is a good amount of time to allow us to have some recovery and to move forward. Yes, Vice Mayor Iverson.
Yes, I wanted to say I too have had trouble with, but mine have been the storm sewers, and I've had to put my own money into building drains and putting in pipes and things. So I know what the other aldermen are talking about. I put out my own personal funds, so I know it's expensive. I'll agree with what Chairman Foster has put up and vote yes, if we have the understanding that it will go to Public Works during the year and there will be discussions about it. I just don't want it to say, oh yeah, we'll discuss it in a year and then we don't. If we're going to talk about it, then okay, yeah, I'll be glad to vote for it, but I have to know we're really going to look into it and not just say we are.
Well, here's the thing. What I would say to you, Vice Mayor, is I absolutely agree with you. I hope that you would see so far that I've done what I said I would do. I told y'all I would be willing to make tough decisions. This is a tough decision that we're having to make, but it's for the help and for the greater good of the people in the city that we serve. I told you that I would do everything that we could, the best we could, before we asked you for more. We have absolutely done that. I promised you that we would put forth asset mapping to see where we are with our system so that we could present plans to you and address our things as the ordinance says. And that's what Engineer Cole has done for you, so that we can know where we are and know where we're going, and so that people will not give up hope. I don't want people to give up hope. I want people to be able to count on us when we say that we'll do something. So I will give you my word that we will discuss it, Vice Mayor. Thank you. Yes, Alderman Pichard.
Yes, I've had a lot of mixed feelings all night and all day about all this, and I've listened to all the comments, and I believe what Alderman Foster and Poor and Iverson has spoken about, I can go along with that. But as far as just doing it tonight is going to be such a burden on so many people, I could not go along with just voting yes tonight. But I can see going along with what those three aldermen did propose.
Thank you, Alderman. That means that it would not be effective until October of next year, October of 2021.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Alderman. Any further discussion or debate on the amendment? Voting yes. Sorry, we're getting a little bit of feedback. Voting yes would leave the ordinance as is, except it would change the effective date. Instead of it being effective of April of next year, it would be effective of October with the first bill date of November. So voting yes, you say you support the amendment. Voting no, you do not support the amendment. Roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Foster. Alderman
Yes.
Foster.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm gonna vote on my own motion.
McMahon.
No.
Brown.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Dungeon.
No.
Bouchard.
Yes.
Stone.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Troya.
No.
Pickering.
Yes.
O'Kane.
Yes.
Iverson.
Yes.
Streebing.
No.
Poor.
Yes.
10 yes.
10 yes, the motion carries. Now we must vote on the ordinance as amended. So again, a yes vote would just be reaffirming the motion that as it was adjusted. A no vote would be stating no. Roll call vote, Madam Clerk. I'm sorry, I didn't explain that clearly.
No, that's not clear.
If you voted yes on the amendment, voting yes on the final vote would approve what you just passed as the amendment. If you vote no, you would not pass the amendment that just cleared.
The ordinance.
The ordinance, that's.
The ordinance
With
as
the
amended.
With the amendment.
Lord, it's been a heck of a day, everyone. I apologize. Thank you, Alderman, for getting my wording right. The ordinance as voting yes would be approving the ordinance as amended. Voting no would be voting that down. Thank you, Alderman Pickering. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Alderman McMahon.
No.
Brown.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Dungeon.
No.
Bouchard.
Yes.
Stone.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Troya.
No.
Pickering.
Yes.
O'Kane.
Yes.
Iverson.
Yes.
Streebing.
No.
Poor.
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
10 yes.
10 yes, the motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor, 11B, I don't know if there's any items of information. I think that's where we're at.
Yes, Chairman, that is correct. Does anyone have any questions for Director Carpenter or any of our Public Works team? All right,
Alderman
Chairman.
Bouchard does have his hand up. I'm not sure if he just didn't take it down from before or.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't take it down.
Okay, Mayor, that concludes our report.
Thank you, Chairman. At this time, we will receive the Public Services Committee report. Chairman Foster.
Yeah, continuing with my rule of reconciliation here, I'm going to recommend that you allow me to make a motion for A through G. I'll have to read them in my motion, but if anybody wants to pull out anything now, we can. Otherwise, I'd like to make, is there anybody that would pull one out for independent voting? If not, I make a motion then that we approve the resolutions. A, authorizing agreement for health insurance. B, spousal incentive to lower monthly health premiums. C is an agreement for health insurance for Medicare and Part B eligible. D will be authorizing the agreement for voluntary dental insurance. E, agreement for group and term voluntary life insurance. E, agreement for extension of the flexible spending program. And finally, G, agreement for the liability and worker compensation insurance. I move to waive the reading and for the approval of all 7.
I second that.
It's been moved by Chairman Foster and seconded by Alderman Pickering. Any discussion or debate? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Brown,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Bouchard,
Yes.
Stone,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Troya,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Streeting,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
McMahon, McMahon.
I said, yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
14 yes.
14 yes, the motion carries.
Thank you. Alderman H is a resolution approving the memorandum of understanding with the Housing Authority and the city of Danville. I move to waive the reading and for its approval.
Second.
Been moved by Chairman Foster and seconded by Alderman Brown. Any discussion or debate? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Davis,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Bouchard,
Yes.
Stone,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Troya,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Streeting,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
McMahon,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
14 yes.
14 yes, the motion carries.
Thank you. I is an ordinance enacting and adopting the supplement S56 to the Code of Ordinances. It's just actually approving the company that updates it, of course, that we use every year. So I move to waive the reading and for its approval.
Second.
Second.
It's been seconded by Alderman Duncan, I believe. Any discussion or debate? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Duncan,
Yes.
Bouchard,
Yes.
Stone,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Troya,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Streeting,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Foster,
Yes.
McMahon,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
14 yes.
14 yes, the motion carries.
Okay, how's that for, I don't have any items information, so I guess we're through with all 7 of them in record time.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for any of our entities that fall under public services? Yes, Alderman Duncan.
Yes, I have a question for Chief Mcmasters. The COVID epidemic, obviously with the restaurants closing everything, and this is a strange one. I had 3 different people call me and want to make sure that the firemen did not go to any of the restaurants that were going to be open during the pandemic or during this last set of mitigations. And the only reason I'm bringing up, I think it's keeping the firemen safe, obviously with the overtime issues and all, and the pandemic that's out there, I think is important. But I wanted to ask the chief, wouldn't that be routine that the firemen would not go to any of the restaurants during this pandemic while the mitigations are in effect, or is that something that's up to them? While they're on duty, while they're off duty, I don't even want to open up that can of worms to try and tell anybody what to do. But while they're on the clock, so to speak, with the city, I think I have the right to find out what's going on.
The ability, I mean, yes, that can be. Nothing has been to them as is current policy. They have the ability to go to a restaurant if they so choose. Now, if and when they do, they typically go to a restaurant and pick up things as order out. They typically do not go and sit down in restaurants and eat anyway, as is the norm even prior to COVID.
Like I said, I had 3 phone calls and they were just, they were explaining how livid they would be if they drove by Jocko's and saw the fire truck in the parking lot.
Okay.
And I don't think we need that kind of flack with the amount of overtime that we're currently experiencing with the fire department.
Okay. I agree with you.
Okay.
Thanks,
You
Alderman.
can pass that, and if they aren't going in, and as long as they're practicing social distancing, I don't need to micromanage you at all. But I thought that public perception of the fire truck going to a restaurant while the mitigations are in effect was bad form.
Yeah. And again, just like, for instance, they have Jimmy John's delivered to the fire station just about daily. Again, so they're not going out. They just have it. If it can be delivered, they have it delivered.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for any of our department heads under Public Safety Division? All right. Seeing none, the next. That's all. Chairman Foster.
Yeah, I know, I'm through.
All right, thank you, Chairman. We appreciate that. The next is our discussion of the 2021-2022 budget. What you saw earlier was the recommendations from Lauterbach and Amended. They are actuaries. However, we also received a state report from the Department of Insurance that also provides us another option, and we have to choose which option we will pay. The state Department of Insurance number is actually a lot lower than normal. A lot lower than the actuarial recommendation normally. Unfortunately, they gave us a projection that has not held. The original number that they gave us compared to what the number now for the police is $300,000 more for the state program, for the state insurance recommendation. We are still waiting the fire department recommendation. We also need to see how this vote went tonight before we made any adjustments to the budget. Therefore, we do not have a second draft of the budget for you this evening. We will have that prepared and ready for you prior to our next city council meeting on the 17th, with all of the updates from the changes that you all made regarding the sewer, the sanitary and storm sewer fee, as well as we should have our fire report by then as well, so we can update all of those numbers for you. That means we will not have a budget study session this Thursday because we will not have any updated information. However, I am proposing that we get together on the 19th. That's 2 weeks from Thursday. That way you all will have had a couple of days to review your budget and we could look at it more intently at that time. Does anyone have any questions or comments about that or about the budget at this time? All right, thank you. Seeing none, items of information for the good of the cause. Alderman Pickering.
I'm sorry, two things. One, Ricky, I'm sorry, Mayor. When did you say Tuesday the 19th, at what time?
Our budget study session will be Thursday the 19th at 5 p.m. Thursday the 19th at 5 p.m. and Agnell or Teresa will send that information out to you well in advance so that everybody can have an opportunity to be in on that.
Okay. And the other thing, I would just like to thank Sam Cole for all the work he did in the presentation. And I think he did a great job. And I just want to thank him personally.
Thank you, Alderman Pickering. I echo those sentiments. This is not hard, but again, we promised you that we would do an assessment of where we're at. And that's just what Sam and Dave Rui did. And they provided that to you. And I appreciate your partnership in helping us meet the needs and remedy some of the ills for our citizens. I know that they will much appreciate it, even though it was a tough decision. Thank you, Alderman. Any other items of information for the good of the cause?
I would just like to remind everyone that November 11th is Veterans Day. And let us not forget our veterans. We won't meet again until the 17th, and the Veterans Day is celebrated on the 11th. Even with COVID, we won't be able to do as some of us that celebrate that day do, but let us remember them if we just say a prayer for those that are active, inactive, those that have passed on, those that are on foreign soil. So let us just remember them.
Amen, Alderman Brown. We wouldn't have the freedoms that we have without all the great men and women of the generations that came before us. So absolutely, we must remember them and we must salute them.
I'd like to add to that, Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Williams.
Yeah, I think Danville residents as well as Vermilion County should be proud of the fact that Here in our county, we have the Ileana Healthcare System, which is formerly known as the Veterans Administration Hospital, as well as the VA National Cemetery within our area here. And we should, on that day, to show our support and gratitude for the veterans and their sacrifice, try maybe display a flag or thank a veteran that you know of. And there is no amount of gratitude that we can display to our veterans and make up the sacrifices that they have encountered. These veterans are not losers and they're not suckers. They are our heroes, so we should treat them as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Yes, Alderman McMahon.
Yes, I just wanted to remind everybody about the fire ops opportunity for us this week with our fire department on Friday. So I would encourage everybody that if you can, it's supposed to be a nice day. So, you know, even if you don't want to go in and experience anything, just come and watch and watch what these guys really do out there.
Yep, please contact Chief Mcmaster as soon as possible. We have had some other individuals inquire about this. I've kind of put them on hold until we hear from all of you. Even though this is a mini thing, you're not gonna have to do it all day like some of us have. I don't know about you, Alderman Pickering, Alderman Brown. I remember I literally swept through even my socks with all of that gear on. So it was an interesting day, but I think it's a great opportunity to go out and learn what our firefighters face and get a little small cap snapshot of that. So please let Chief McMasters know ASAP if you can go. If you'd like to go in there, they will get you fitted for gear over the next couple of days. If you don't want to go in, but you just want to observe, please let them know that too. Take your alderman badge with you or your card so that they will know that you're there, and they'll be able to give you a little bit closer, a safer look than the public. So thanks, Alderman McMahon, for that reminder. Engineer Cole. Oh, yeah. Chairman Foster.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, on the, I've seen I have some trouble this week on some of the information I received concerning the meeting. For an example, in the closed session meeting now, there is a link which is different from the one we've been talking on, but it's not supposed to be a Zoom meeting according to what you said earlier. However, there's no local phone number on here. And the further away the phone is you call on, the worse it's going to be for Zoom meetings. I can choose everything from San Jose to Chicago. Where is the phone meeting for the local? It's not on the thing you sent out, Teresa. But on the other hand, I'm not sure what's going on the computer, because you left things off the first time and you sent me back saying this is exactly what I sent before, and what you sent before still didn't have the links I was asking about and the phone number. So where I am now is, what is the phone number supposed to dial? And we ought to all be on that same page.
Or the Chicago number, 312. The Chicago number, Chairman.
Okay, the Chicago number, huh?
312.
Yes. Yes, that one.
Okay.
But we can do just the single click, right?
No,
you got to put all this garbage in, the passcode and ID and God knows what else.
No, Alderman Dungeon, for that one, you actually have to call in. It's a telephone call.
Even though the email says Zoom meeting for closed session.
Yes.
Yeah. That is correct.
That's where it confused.
Because otherwise that would cancel it. I apologize if it's confusing. We'll work to make sure that it's clearer next time. But yes, that's correct. You will have to dial in the 312 number.
Mayor, why don't you give us all the numbers so that nobody's confused?
Well, here's the problem. If I give you the number, then it won't be closed session anymore.
It won't be closed session.
So why don't we do this? I can have Agnell or I, give us just a moment. One of us will email to the Alderman group the number and the subsequent information that you're needing in order to dial in, and we'll just we'll take a moment to do that so that we can then move on. And I know in the meantime, while we're working on that, I know that the Engineer Cole wanted to say something as well.
Before that happens, though, then we'll use I'll use my phone then for the closed session,
yes,
not my
sir,
laptop.
That is correct.
Thank you.
So I should have said this under the Public Works
But
report.
keep your laptop signed into this meeting. And mute it, please.
I should have said this under the Public Works report, but I just wanted to thank all the aldermen for all the constructive feedback and tackling this difficult issue in a very healthy way. The same thing for the community in general. I was very pleased with the open dialogue we could have on that. And I just want to encourage the community and you guys to encourage the aldermen or the people in your wards when they have sewer backups or issues. Please call Public Works because we map all of that stuff, and that will be one of the biggest assets to us going forward on prioritizing where we go and what areas we focus in. So I feel grateful to be able to say that we can take those calls and give them hope that we can fix those rather than just try to appease them, not be able to offer much. So thank you all for that.
Thank you. Give us just a few moments, please. I apologize.
Their mailbox is gonna be loaded. All kinds of mail came since I last checked it. So it'll be way down at the bottom, I'm afraid.
Well, no, Agnell is going to email adjust that information to you here in a moment.
But our mailboxes are really loaded with stuff from you guys sent out the last minute. So they got to look for it. I got 7 or 8 emails there I got to click on.
Right, but Agnell is literally in the process of sending that to you right now.
Yeah, it won't change Jesus. He may be, but it won't change the fact it's not going to be easy to recognize. And I assume the 312 number is okay though, right? I'm not going to go back and open it up again.
Some reason I'm getting Rick Streaming's email address computer.
That's interesting. I know you guys are close, but not that close if you're the same.
That comes up for streaming in the city of Danville.
You know what? Actually, the item that we needed to discuss, there's not going to be any vote taken on it. It is something that could wait until next time. So what we will do is we will forgo the closed session for this evening. I know that that's going to break everyone's heart. It will be critical that we have one next time though.
Sounds like a plan.
Man wins the election tonight. That's what I'm going to go pay attention to.
Exactly. So given that we will not have a closed session this evening, are there any other items of information for the good of the cause? Having satisfied the agenda, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Alderman Dungeon, seconded by Alderman McMahon. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Have a great evening, everyone, and